Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Anita and I'm a medical student here in the UK. And on top of that, I also run a very successful and established real estate business. So my goal here is to create the ultimate health and wealth channel. So thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Today we're going to be talking about one of the best things in the world, which is exercising. So exercising is one of the best and the most transformative things you can do for yourself and for your health. And that goes from head to toe, from your brain all the way to your toes, so your entire body. Exercising for me actually even sets the tone of my day. And I can definitely tell the difference when I have exercise and when I haven't. Because when I don't, I tend to feel extra moody and just unhappy, and I feel like there's something missing in my life. And for those of us that like instant gratification, the effects of exercising are literally almost immediate. My fellow instant gratification friends, exercising is one for you. So today we're going to be looking at the short-term and long-term impacts of exercising on your body. So what does exercise actually do to your brain? So effectively, exercise increases the blood flow to your brain. So it is actually feeding your brain because your brain derives its nutrition from the blood. So when you exercise, your heart starts pumping and your circulation improves, and the circulation to your brain improves, feeding your brain and giving it all those essential nutrients that it needs. And this is essential because our brain needs a constant blood flow. It takes up 20% of our entire cardiac output. So effectively, increasing the blood flow enhances our brain's functions and ensures that it gets all of those great nutrients that it needs to function and keep us sharp. And for those of you that like boasting about your memory, exercise actually enhances your memory. When we exercise, we increase the expression of certain molecular targets in the brain called brain-derived neurotrophic factors, BDNF, and these increase a process called synaptogenesis, which is the formation of new synapses that mediate learning and your memory, making it easier to absorb information. So the more BDNF you have, the more your memory improves and the better your recollection will be of past events. And your capacity to form new memories also improves with more BDNF in your brain. So if you're struggling for motivation to exercise, think about how much you love your memories and get going. Another thing exercise does for us is also decrease our stress level. Now, I'm sure many of you have experienced this personally yourself. When stressed, you go for a run or you go punch that boxing bag and voila, your stress is just gone, and it's because of the effects of exercise on your brain and body. And the way it does this is not by decreasing your stress hormone, so it doesn't decrease your cortisol levels, but what it does is decrease the number of receptors in your brain that this hormone can attach to and cause the bad feelings of stress. The less receptors you have, the less effect the stress hormone will have in your body. So exercise decreases the number of these receptors in your hippocampus, which is a region in your brain, and by doing so, it reduces the negative impacts cortisol, your stress hormone, has in your brain, and effectively reduces the impact of a stressful event. Exercise also stimulates the release of endorphins, which act on the opiate receptors in our brain, and the stimulation of these opiate receptors is what's responsible for creating that happy high feeling we get after we're done working out. In fact, these endorphins that are released when you exercise act on the exact same receptors that many clinically prescribed opiates do, except in this case there are no side effects, which is a win-win. And this brings us to the next great effect of exercise, which is its role in reducing anxiety and depression. Did you guys know that the longer you're inactive, the more your body craves being at rest, when in fact what it really needs is movement? It's shocking because this just creates a vicious cycle that's more and more difficult to get out of. And this is exactly what people who are depressed go through. Not only that, they also have elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol and also adrenaline. And as we just heard, exercise reduces the effect of cortisol on the body. Not only that, exercise increases the expression of serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, which are all neurotransmitters used in medication that's prescribed to treat clinical depression, anxiety, and even ADHD. But unlike those medicines, like we said, it has no side effects. Studies that have been done have shown that exercise is as effective as medicines in combating mild to moderate depression. And not surprisingly, the long-term effects of exercise actually exceed exceed those of antidepressants. Some studies have found that exercise alone was as effective as psychotherapy. And what's great is that it's completely free. One study that was implemented in a school for children with ADHD found that children's performance and focus was much better following regular exercise than without. In fact, they found that the improvement in performance was much better with exercise than the prescribed dopamine stimulant Ritalin, which is absolutely incredible. In fact, it has been stated that 45 minutes of walking at 60 to 70% of your maximum heart rate would reduce almost all the symptoms of depression. But don't just take my word for it. Here's what world-famous esteemed neuroscientist Wendy Suzuki had to say about exercising too. She conducted a study where she found that long-term exercise could change the anatomy, physiology, and function of our brain. In fact, she found that the hippocampus in our brain, which is responsible for processing our memories, produced new brain cells after long-term exercise, which increased volume and its size and improved our long-term memory. Exercise also improved the size of our prefrontal cortex, which in turn helped improve our attention and our focus. In fact, she found that a single workout could improve our ability to shift and focus our attention, and these effects would last for at least 2 hours. And because it also releases those super beneficial neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine, not only would our focus improve, but likely our performance at work, simply because we'll be having higher circulating levels of those happy neurotransmitters in our body and in our brain. According to her, exercise is one thing you can do for yourself that would protect your brain for the rest of your life. The reason here being is that it improves the size of your prefrontal cortex and your hippocampus. And these are two regions that are most susceptible to neurodegenerative diseases and cognitive decline that we see with aging. So while exercise doesn't cure dementia or prevent its onset, it can, however, delay its onset. Because the larger your hippocampus and prefrontal cortex are, the less susceptible they will be to these conditions. So exercise essentially is insurance for your brain against these conditions. And unlike insurance, it is completely free. All you really need is a pair of running shoes and off you go. She personally suggests exercising 3 to 4 times a week with a minimum of 30 minutes each time, and preferably aerobic exercises because that really gets your heart rate going and gets your blood flowing. Have you ever wondered how your body actually changes from when you start to exercise to as you continue doing it through the years? Well, let's look at that now. So following your first workout, you're likely to feel energized and you're likely to have those endorphins flowing, so you're likely going to be on an endorphin high. So your mood is going to be great. However, if you're new to exercising, what you're going to then experience the next day is something called delayed onset muscle soreness, which are those aches and pains from those muscles that you just used during your workout. And this will likely last you for up to 3 days. And the reason DOMS happens is because those muscles have been unused and they're unused to those movements. So they have just undergone a lot of stress and a lot of extra stretching than they were previously used to. However, the good news is that DOMS is unlikely to occur again if those muscles are then exercised regularly. Now, if you keep up your exercise routine over the next few weeks, what's going to happen is that your body is going to increase the production of mitochondria. So these are the energy powerhouses in your cells. So your cell have these little organelles, as they're called, in them called the mitochondria, and they're responsible for the energy production of the cells. And it's this energy that we then use to help us exercise. So they take all of the carbs, the proteins, and the fats from our body and convert it into a fuel called ATP that we then use within our muscles to help it move and contract. And exercising essentially increases our body's production of these mitochondria in a process called mitochondrial biogenesis. And 2 months of regular exercising can increase the amount of mitochondria you have in your body by up to 50%. And what this means is that your body will then be better able to fuel your runs. So the more mitochondria you have, the better your endurance will be and the stronger you will feel. So in theory, if you keep up with your regular exercises, it's only going to get easier and easier over time because of this very reason. Another term to be familiar with is your Vo2 Max. So this is the rate at which your body can transport oxygen to your muscles for fuel. And the higher your Vo2 Max, the better your stamina, the better your endurance, and the longer you can run for. It's a term commonly used by fitness profession as a measure of fitness. So whatever baseline Vo2 you start with, after 9 months of doing regular cardio, you can expect to see a 25% increase in your Vo2 Max, which means you'll be faster, have more stamina, and you'll be able to run longer. Great news for those who might be tempted to give up after a few weeks of exercising is that all it takes is around 6 weeks before you can notice actual differences in your muscles and the way your body feels, and it's likely by 6 weeks you will even see some results if you are consistent and you also have a healthy diet. So keep pushing, guys, and you will definitely see those results come through, and you will never want to quit afterward because of how great your results will be. Another great benefit of long-term exercising is that studies have also shown that long-term exercises can also improve the density of your bones. So as we age, the density of our bones tends to decrease, and also by being inactive, the density of our bones tend to increase. But what's great about exercising is it can reverse this process entirely and strengthen our bones, making them denser and more resilient to everyday stresses. Reason being here is that our bones are shaped by the mechanical stresses we apply to them daily. Some studies have found that regular aerobic exercises, so your cardio and resistance training, can in fact reverse the signs of osteoporosis completely within just 1 year. And if that all was not enough, exercise has also been shown to decrease the risk of certain cancers like breast cancer, colon cancer, decrease the risk of cardiovascular diseases, decrease the risk of dementia, decrease the risk of diabetes, and the list goes on. So in all likelihood, not only will you be improving your mood, being a happier person, focusing better at work, you're also going to live much longer and a much healthier and fulfilling life just by exercising. It's crazy. The current guidelines for exercising is between 2.5 hours to 3 hours per week minimum, and they ideally recommend brisk walking to moderate intensity exercises to gain the full benefit. So these could be even things like your biking or your regular cardio aerobic exercise that you would do in a gym class. And they also recommend incorporating 2 days of strength training in order to build your endurance and your stamina. What's also super important and important to not neglect is your diet. So you could be doing all the exercise in the world, but if your diet is terrible and you're still eating very unhealthy, you're likely not going to reap the full benefit. So do look into your nutrition and make sure you're eating a well-balanced diet. And for those of you that are new to exercising or just getting back on the exercising bandwagon, it's important to pace yourself, take it slow, listen to your body, and go at your own pace. Everyone is different and you only need to ever compete against yourself. And whatever form of physical activity you do, it's important that you enjoy it in order for you to be able to continue doing it in the long run and reap the full benefit. The great news here is that the more you do it, the easier it becomes and the more enjoyable it will be. So just get started, guys, keep pushing and don't give up, and you'll be able to reap all of these amazing benefits that we talked about in this video. So that's all for today's video, guys. I really hope it was helpful. If you guys have any suggestions for any other videos you would like me to make, please do let me know. And as always, thank you so much for watching and for your support, and I will see you in my next video.